Welcome, my soft-thinking listener. You've found yourself in the company of the Sleepy Sloth once again. A slow, scientifically minded fellow, who enjoys facts about old typewriters, and things that softly clack and gently press their way into history. I must tell you something before we begin. Today, I consider myself a scientist in the subtle art of typing machines. A scientist who is almost always correct, except for those few times when I am not. But even then, I prefer to drift gently onward, rather than fuss over it. Because what truly matters is the information itself. Before I start, please, let me know. What is the most boring thing you would secretly love hearing about? Let me know gently, in the comments. Now, let us begin today's episode of the early history of typewriting machines. Our story begins in the soft, misty year of 1714, when a rather obscure gentleman named Henry Mill quietly secured the first known patent for a typewriting machine in England. No one asked for this. And yet, here we are, contemplating a patent whose details are as elusive as the soft whisper of a slow breeze through mossy leaves. This patent, unlike the robust machines of later years, was described only in words, with no surviving prototype to show us its gentle clacking or mechanical whispers. Mill's invention was intended to imprint letters onto paper without the need for handwriting, an idea both revolutionary and extraordinarily dull in its slow unfolding. Let us float gently onward to the year 1808, where an Italian inventor named Pellegrino Turri crafted an early writing machine for a blind woman. This device, affectionately known as Turri's writing machine, was less a commercial marvel and more an intimate, bespoke tool. Turri's machine employed a keyboard to strike inked letters onto paper, a soft innovation born of compassion and quiet necessity. The keyboard layout was unlike the typewriters we know today, lacking the rhythmic familiarity of QWERTY, but it softly laid the groundwork for all that was to come. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, Pellegrino Turri is also credited with inventing the carbon paper used to create duplicates. Imagine, delicate sheets soaked in ink, gently pressed between pages, sharing their inky whispers and soft duplicates. Now, with gentle strokes, we drift toward 1829, when William Austin Burt patented the typographer, a curious contraption that might be called a precursor to the typewriter. Burt's typographer was a heavy, clunky apparatus that used a dial and pointer to select letters, which were then impressed onto paper one by one. The process was slow, deliberate, like a leaf unfurling in the soft morning light. It lacked a keyboard, which made it quite different from what we imagine as a typewriter, but it was a vital step in the quiet evolution of mechanical writing devices. The typographer never quite took off commercially, but it stands as a whisper of progress, a mechanical sigh in the long history of writing. Let us drift, ever so slowly, to 1865, when a Danish inventor named Rasmus Malling Hansen unveiled the Hansen writing ball, the first commercially produced typewriter. This curious invention resembled a spiky, metallic flower, with keys arranged in a hemispherical shape, poised delicately above the paper. Unlike the linear keyboards we now find familiar, the writing ball allowed the typist to strike keys that propelled levers, imprinting inked letters with a satisfying softness. Its commercial success was modest, Yet it was admired for its speed and efficiency in its time, quietly humming in offices and homes where quiet industriousness was prized. The writing ball's round shape and elegant mechanics remind us that even the most practical inventions can carry an element of artful design. You may not care. And that is completely fine. And so, gently turning the gears of time, we reach the year 1870, when Christopher Latham Sholes and his collaborators in Milwaukee began developing the first practical typewriter. Sholes's machine introduced the now ubiquitous QWERTY keyboard layout, carefully designed to slow down the typing speed just enough to prevent mechanical jams, an oddly deliberate form of dullness that paradoxically encouraged efficiency. This design, soft as a slow tick of a clock, became the foundation for typewriters to come. The early Sholes and Glidden typewriters clattered softly onto desks, their arms striking ink ribbons and printing letters in a rhythm both mechanical and mesmerizingly mundane. The machine was heavy, noisy in its own gentle way, and far removed from the silent taps of modern keyboards, but it was a quiet revolution, one that typed its way into the fabric of everyday life. In 1873, the Remington Company, known mostly for manufacturing firearms and sewing machines, agreed to take on the rather unassuming task of producing the Sholes and Glidden typewriter. This partnership was, in many ways, a slow and deliberate affair. Remington was not rushing headlong into the world of typing machines, but instead carefully assembling the pieces, much like an ancient watchmaker adjusting tiny cogs and springs in a dim workshop. The decision to manufacture this typewriter was not greeted with fanfare but with practical consideration, as the company's machinery and industrial skills lent themselves well to the delicate metalwork required. This quiet collaboration brought the typewriter out of the realm of invention and into the slowly brightening light of commercial production. Let us drift, ever so slowly, through the hum of factory floors and the soft clatter of metal parts coming to life. The partnership formed the gentle bridge between invention and everyday use, one careful step at a time. A slow little detour for this extra interesting fact. Remington, despite its fame for making rifles, approached the manufacture of typewriters with the same steady hand that it applied to precision engineering. Their experience with sewing machines, which also involved intricate mechanical parts and repetitive motion, translated softly to the demands of the new writing machines. This was not a flashy leap but a gradual extension of expertise, where the clink of metal and the turn of screws echoed like the ticking of a great clock. Now, let us float gently onward to the emergence of the first commercially available typewriter. In 1874, the Remington No. 1 quietly arrived as the first typewriter offered for sale to the general public, bearing the now familiar QWERTY keyboard layout. This arrangement of keys, designed thoughtfully to slow down the typist just enough to prevent mechanical jams, was itself a marvel of deliberate dullness. Its uneven pattern might seem puzzling to a modern observer, but it was carefully crafted for efficiency in its era of slow-moving levers and arms. The No. 1's key struck paper through an inked ribbon, gently leaving behind imprints of letters like faint impressions in soft snow. The typewriter's carriage moved steadily, a slow, rhythmic dance of parts that repeated with gentle predictability. No bells or whistles, only the quiet tap-tap of a machine designed for purpose rather than applause. The Remington No. 1st of May not have set the world ablaze, but it softly nudged it toward a future where writing could be mechanical, orderly, and profoundly unhurried. We shall float, a little more, into the gentle introduction of the ink ribbon. Before the Remington No. 1, some earlier writing machines used carbon paper, thin sheets of inked material placed between papers to create duplicates when pressed. But in 1875, Remington's typewriter made a tender shift away from carbon paper to using an inked ribbon. This ribbon, soaked in ink, wound slowly between spools, carrying the ink softly to the paper with every gentle tap of a key. This change was subtle yet significant. The ink ribbon made typing cleaner and more consistent, reducing the messiness of carbon copies and smoothing out the mechanical process. One can imagine the ribbon as a delicate thread, weaving invisible paths of ink, marking each letter with quiet care. This innovation whispered its way into the world, unnoticed by many, but deeply important to the slow evolution of typing machines. Now, we drift toward a curious invention that would quietly reshape the typewriter's language, the shift key. In 1878, an early concept of a shift mechanism was patented, a device intended to allow the typist to access both uppercase and lowercase letters without changing the machine or using different keys. This was no rush to action but a thoughtful, mechanical solution to a tedious problem. The shift mechanism gently lifted or shifted parts of the typewriter's type bars, so that a single key could strike two different characters, depending on the position. Imagine the quiet movement inside the machine, as metal arms slowly changed their alignment, like the soft, imperceptible shift of tree branches in a gentle breeze. This innovation made typing more versatile, less cumbersome, and quietly more elegant. Let us continue to float, ever so gently, to the Remington No. 2, also released in 1878. This typewriter was the first to incorporate the shift key mechanism, allowing typists to switch between uppercase and lowercase letters without interruption. The introduction of the shift key added a layer of complexity to the machine's inner workings, with additional levers and springs engaging softly beneath the keyboard. The typist's fingers now danced lightly, no longer confined to a single set of characters but able to access the fullness of written language with a gentle press. This advancement did not shout its arrival but instead whispered to the world, smoothing the path for all those who would one day type long letters, books, and softly penned thoughts. The Remington No. 2 typified a slow, steady step in making machines more flexible, more human-friendly, and yet still beautifully mechanical in their quiet movements. Around the year 1881, the QWERTY keyboard layout began to spread beyond the early Remington machines, gradually becoming the standard arrangement on typewriters. This quiet standardization did not happen overnight. It was a slow settling, much like the way fallen leaves arrange themselves softly on a forest floor over time. The QWERTY layout, originally designed in the 1870s to prevent the jamming of mechanical type bars by spacing commonly used letters apart, became an accepted norm. This meant that typists trained on one Remington model could easily move to another without relearning their keystrokes. The spread was aided by Remington's growing dominance in the market, as their typewriters were widely adopted in offices and homes. The keys themselves, familiar now to anyone who has ever gently tapped away on a keyboard, carried with them the legacy of a mechanical problem solved with thoughtful, if unexciting, ingenuity. You may not care. And that is completely fine. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. The QWERTY layout was not universally loved in its early days. Some critics found it awkward or inefficient, suggesting alternative layouts such as the Dvorak keyboard. However, the momentum behind QWERTY's adoption was like a softly turning gear, unstoppable in its quiet persistence. This slow, steady embrace ensured that QWERTY became, and remains, the dominant arrangement even in our digital age. Now, let us float gently onward to the quiet competition that arose in 1883. In 1883, the calligraph typewriter was introduced as a contender against Remington's growing reign. The calligraph, manufactured by the Union Typewriter Company, brought with it some technical differences, including a sturdier frame and different key mechanisms. It sought to provide typists with a reliable alternative, emphasizing durability and a somewhat faster typing action. While it never quite toppled Remington from its soft throne, the calligraph pushed forward the idea that typewriters could be improved and varied without disrupting the gentle rhythm of office work. Its presence in the market was like a quiet ripple on a still pond, barely disturbing the surface, yet nonetheless important in shaping future designs. The calligraph's mechanical arms clicked and clattered softly in offices where paper and ink quietly held sway. Drifting slowly onward, we arrive at the year 1884, when a new chapter quietly opened for the Underwood name. Franz X. Wagner, a humble inventor, crafted a typewriter for John Underwood, whose family would soon become synonymous with typewriting excellence. Wagner's work laid the groundwork for the Underwood Typewriter Company, which would eventually produce machines famed for their reliability and ease of use. This early collaboration was not loud or flashy but rather a slow, deliberate unfolding, like a soft breeze passing through the leaves of an ancient tree. The Underwood machines would later introduce innovations that further smoothed the experience of typing, quietly advancing the art without the clatter of disruption. Let us float a little further into the gentle refinements of the machine itself. In 1885, subtle improvements to the type bars, the metal arms striking the paper, were made to reduce the frequent jamming that early typists found so vexing. These type bar improvements were modest mechanical tweaks, slightly reshaped arms, better alignment, and smoother pivots. The goal was to keep the letters flowing steadily and avoid the sudden halt of a jammed key. It was a slow and steady tinkering process, akin to a watchmaker adjusting the tiny teeth of a gear to ensure smooth, silent turning. These refinements helped increase typing speed by allowing typists to press keys more confidently, knowing the machine would respond with gentle precision. One might imagine the soft click of type bars as a soothing metronome in a quiet office. Now, a gentle drift toward the softer side of office life. In 1888, the introduction of typewriter desks quietly changed the landscape where these machines lived. These specially designed pieces of furniture adapted to the presence of typewriters, offering desks with reinforced surfaces, built-in rests, and spaces thoughtfully arranged to accommodate the machine's weight and size. Early typewriter desks appeared as unassuming as tree stumps beside a forest path, sturdy and practical. They helped typists maintain better posture and created an environment where the rhythmic tapping of keys could continue uninterrupted for long hours. These desks became silent partners in the slow dance of writing, supporting the steady clatter of thoughts transformed into ink and paper. In the gentle turning of years, we arrive at 1889, when the Hammond typewriter softly entered the scene, carrying with it a curious circular keyboard and an innovative mechanism known as interchangeable type shuttles. Imagine, if you will, a delicate carousel of letters, slowly revolving beneath the typist's fingers, each character ready to be pressed and printed with a gentle kiss of ink upon paper. The Hammond's circular keyboard departed from the linear rows we have come to know, creating instead a design both unusual and quietly elegant, like a slowly spinning wheel covered in soft moss. The interchangeable type shuttles were slender metal bars carrying typefaces that could be swapped out, allowing for a variety of fonts or characters to be used, a flexibility rare and precious in the era's mechanical writing devices. This mechanism worked by rotating the type shuttle to the correct position before striking, a dance of precision and deliberate slowness. The typist, softly tapping away, might have felt as if their fingertips were coaxing gentle sounds from a finely tuned musical instrument, each letter emerging not in haste but in calm, measured rhythm. This machine was a softly humming testament to human ingenuity, nestled quietly in the late 19th century's orchard of invention. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. The Hammond typewriter's design allowed it to produce beautifully clear and uniform characters, admired for their neatness and legibility. This was in part thanks to the way the type shuttle struck the paper, distributing ink evenly and reducing smudging. This subtle quality made it particularly beloved by certain secretaries and writers who preferred a gentle, crisp appearance to their typed pages, though its circular keyboard was sometimes considered awkward by those used to the familiar QWERTY layout. Let us float gently onward toward the quiet rise of typing schools. By 1890, the world of writing by machine had grown enough that formal training programs began to appear, dedicated solely to the art of touch typing. These typing schools emerged as places of quiet discipline, where students learned to place their fingers lightly on the keyboard, memorizing the positions of keys without glancing down. The method was painstaking, the learning curve slow and steady, much like the growth of a sapling in a shaded glen, reaching toward the dappled light with patient determination. Instructors emphasized rhythm and consistency, training the mind and fingers to work together in perfect, unhurried harmony. These schools not only taught technical skill but also offered a refuge of quiet focus in bustling cities, where the soft tapping of keys began to fill offices and classrooms alike. The introduction of touch typing was a gentle revolution, an attempt to smooth the process of communication by machine, making it less about peering at keys and more about trusting the fingers to dance upon the keyboard like floating feathers. Drifting gently now to 1891, we find the Oliver typewriter, a machine notable for its distinctive down-strike action and visible typing. Unlike many of its predecessors, where the typed letter was hidden until the carriage moved forward, the Oliver allowed typists to see each character clearly as it was pressed onto the paper, a slow, satisfying reveal. The machine's type bars struck downward from both sides, arching over the platen like the spread wings of a slow bird, meeting in the center to imprint the letter. This down-strike mechanism required a complex arrangement of arms and levers, all moving in a languid ballet of metal, each motion carefully choreographed to avoid jams and errors. The Oliver's visible typing helped users to maintain a steady, measured pace, as they watched their words softly appear line by line. Imagine the scene, a quiet office bathed in late afternoon light, fingers pressing keys with gentle insistence, letters unfolding clearly for the first time with each deliberate strike. The Oliver typewriter was a kind of mechanical poetry, slow and soothing in its cadence. Let us float onward, through the gently converging currents of industry, to 1893, when the Union Typewriter Company was formed. This major consolidation merged several prominent brands into a single trust, bringing together a collection of typewriting machines and their manufacturers under one quiet umbrella. The consolidation was less a dramatic upheaval and more a patient weaving of threads, like the slow intertwining of roots beneath a forest floor. By combining resources and expertise, the Union Typewriter Company hoped to foster stability and steady progress, reducing competition and encouraging collaboration and improving the machines. This trust held a vast catalog of models, each with its own character and slow mechanical heartbeat, and quietly influenced the direction of typewriter design for years to come. For the typists and offices relying on these machines, the Union Company was a gentle reassurance, a steady hand in the evolving world of mechanical writing. Now, let us drift softly toward 1895, where a new kind of typewriter quietly emerged, the first portable model, known as the Blickensderfer No. 5. This compact machine was designed to be easily transported, a far cry from the heavy, stationary devices that had preceded it. The No. 5 was slender and light, like a delicate feather caught on a gentle breeze, allowing writers and clerks to carry the act of typing beyond the office walls. Its portability made it an appealing companion for journalists, travelers, and anyone wishing to write in soft, unhurried moments away from their desks. Mechanically, it employed a unique cylindrical typewheel, which allowed for a simplified key arrangement and a quieter operation. The design embodied a quiet elegance and a soft promise that the slow art of typing need not be confined, but could accompany the mind as it wandered through life's quiet spaces. Imagine the Blickensderfer resting gently in a leather case, waiting patiently to be unfurled and softly tapped beneath the shade of a slowly swaying tree. As we let these gentle stories settle softly in your mind, remember that none of this information requires your close attention or memory. In the gentle unfolding of the late 19th century, the year 1897 marks the soft beginning of what is often called the visible typing era, a tender turning point in typewriter history. The Underwood No. 1, quietly introduced in this year, allowed typists the gentle luxury of seeing the letters as they appeared on the page immediately after striking the keys. This was a subtle but profound change. Before this, many typewriters hid the freshly printed character beneath the machine's carriage, requiring the typist to wait or glance awkwardly to confirm their work. The Underwood No. 1's design brought the typed text into clear view, like a slow unveiling of letters in a sun-dappled glade. The key struck from beneath the platen, so each character emerged softly and promptly, soothing the typist with visual reassurance. This newfound visibility encouraged a steady pace, a calm confidence that their words were indeed being gently woven onto paper. Let us float gently onward, as this era settled in like the slow, comforting fog in a quiet forest clearing. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. The Underwood No. 1's design was so influential that it set the standard for most typewriters that followed. Its simple yet effective mechanism became a blueprint, a slow, well-considered architecture that balanced mechanical complexity with user-friendliness. The visible typing approach not only made errors easier to spot but also introduced a new rhythm to typing, less tentative, more assured. This subtle shift rippled quietly through offices and homes, reshaping the relationship between writer and machine without fanfare or haste. Moving softly into 1898, another small but meaningful innovation appeared on the scene: cutouts with glass insets. These little glass windows were carefully embedded into the tops of the keys, protecting the printed letters beneath them from the gradual wear and tear of endless finger taps. Before this, key labels were often painted or printed directly onto the key surface, prone to fading or smudging over time, like delicate footprints in soft mud slowly disappearing. The glass inset acted as a tiny, clear shield, preserving the letters with durable clarity, allowing typists to gaze upon their keyboard with ease and reassurance. The gentle gleam of glass caught the light like a slowly twinkling star in a mossy canopy, and the effect was both practical and quietly pleasing. This improvement spoke softly of an attention to detail that often goes unnoticed but makes a world of difference in the slow dance of daily typing. Let us drift gently now to the dawn of the new century, where the year 1900 saw the early introduction of tabulator mechanisms. These humble devices were designed to aid in the alignment of columns on the page, a task requiring patience and precision, much like the careful layering of leaves in a forest floor mosaic. Tabulators allowed typists to press a key and have the carriage jump to preset positions, aligning text neatly without the slow and error-prone manual spacing of earlier times. The tabulator was a mechanical helper, quietly easing the burden of formatting tables, lists, and ledgers, making the written word more orderly and readable. This innovation was not flashy or loud, but a gentle whisper of efficiency that crept steadily into office practice. Imagine the carriage gliding softly to its next resting place, guided by unseen springs and stops, a silent partner in the symphony of typing. From here, let us float onward to 1902 and the arrival of the Underwood No. 5, a machine destined to become the global standard for visible typing. This model refined and perfected the principles first seen in the Underwood No. 1, combining a robust, reliable mechanism with the clear, immediate display of typed characters. The No. 5 was praised for its smooth action, sturdy construction, and balanced feel beneath the fingers. It became a favored tool for typists worldwide, finding its way into offices, newspapers, and homes, quietly shaping the way people communicated in ink and paper. Its rhythmic, soothing clatter became the soundtrack of countless workdays, a gentle mechanical heartbeat that connected writer and reader across continents. Let us float, ever so slowly, through the quiet decades where this iconic machine reigned with humble grace. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. The Underwood No. 5's design was so influential that even modern typewriters and early computer keyboards borrowed its spirit of visible, immediate feedback. Its success was not just mechanical but deeply human, providing typists with a tangible connection to their work, reducing errors, and fostering a comforting familiarity. This was a machine that quietly invited users to trust the soft rhythm of their fingers and the steady dance of levers beneath. Now, in 1905, the typewriter gained a new, subtle shade of expression through the introduction of the two-color ribbon, typically red and black. This innovation allowed typists to switch between colors simply by adjusting the ribbon position, adding a quiet layer of nuance to typed documents. Red ink was often reserved for emphasis, corrections, or special notations, while black remained the standard for general text. The two-color ribbon was like a soft palette of muted paints, gently broadening the typist's expressive range without complicating the machine's mechanical rhythm. Picture the ribbon, delicately wound between spools, shifting slowly as keys struck down, leaving impressions in either bold black or warm red, like faint footprints on freshly fallen snow. This color capability introduced a tiny, soothing variety into the otherwise monochrome world of typewriting, enhancing clarity and subtlety in communication without disturbing the slow cadence of work. In the slow turning of the calendar to the year 1907, the typewriter quietly gained a new key, the backspace. This humble addition brought a gentle grace to the often rigid task of typing, allowing users to move the carriage back by one space to correct mistakes or adjust formatting. Before the backspace key's arrival, typists faced the frustrating prospect of starting anew or carefully lining over errors, a slow and sometimes discouraging process. The introduction of backspace was not a sudden revolution but rather a gentle easing of a long-standing burden, like a soft sigh in a quiet room. With this key, the typist's fingers were given a tender tool to navigate the occasional slip or error, nudging the machine's carriage backward as delicately as a feather floating on a still pond. The ability to retract and revise words without erasing the entire page offered a small comfort, a tiny whisper of forgiveness in the steady march of mechanical writing. Let us float gently onward into the realm of portability and folding machines. By 1909, the Corona Company introduced a new concept that would quietly transform the typewriter's presence in the world, the folding typewriter. This standard folding model allowed the machine to collapse into a compact, portable form, softening the typewriter's traditionally bulky and stationary nature. Imagine a delicate mechanism, carefully hinged and designed to fold closed like the wings of a slow, restful moth settling on a leaf. The folding typewriter became an inviting companion for travelers, journalists, and writers who wished to carry their craft beyond the confines of the office or study. This innovation was a tender acknowledgement that writing need not be anchored in one place but could follow the meandering paths of life's quiet journeys. The portability promised by folding typewriters whispered possibilities of gentle creation amidst softly swaying trees or in cozy corners bathed in late afternoon light. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, the Corona folding typewriter became wildly popular during the early decades of the 20th century, celebrated for its combination of durability and ease of transport. Its design influenced many subsequent portable models, laying a foundation for the kind of mobility we now take for granted. Let us drift onward to the quiet adaptations made for visually impaired typists. Around 1910, the first Braille typewriters emerged, marking an important step in making the art of typing more inclusive. These early machines were specially adapted to emboss raised dots onto paper, enabling blind or visually impaired users to write in Braille, the tactile reading and writing system. Unlike the usual inked impressions, Braille typewriters carefully punched patterns of dots in the paper's surface, inviting readers to explore the texture with their fingertips. The machines were often simple yet thoughtfully designed, balancing the mechanical demands of embossing with ease of use. They moved slowly and methodically, much like the gentle dance of falling leaves, producing a soft tactile language that spoke volumes without a single sound. The advent of Braille typewriters whispered of compassion and quiet innovation, extending the reach of written communication into worlds once left silent. Let us float gently onward to a mechanical curiosity of duality. In 1912, the Smith Premier introduced a typewriter with a rather unusual feature, a double keyboard. This machine bore two separate sets of keys, one for uppercase letters and one for lowercase. Unlike later typewriters that used a shift key to toggle between cases, the Smith Premier required the typist to choose which keyboard to use before striking a letter. This design, though somewhat cumbersome by today's standards, was a deliberate attempt to avoid mechanical complexity and jamming. The twin keyboards sat side by side, inviting typists to move their hands slowly between them, much like a pair of lazy birds shifting from one perch to another. The double keyboard created a unique rhythm of typing, alternating between the two rows of keys in a gentle, deliberate manner. While this machine was eventually superseded by more efficient designs, its quiet presence in the history of typing speaks to the slow evolution of mechanical problem-solving. Let us float a little further toward the growing ubiquity of tabulation. By 1913, the tabulator key had become a standard feature across office typewriters and other machines, quietly revolutionizing the way data was organized and presented. This key allowed typists to jump the carriage to preset positions, aligning text into neat columns without the painstaking manual spacing previously required. The tabulator was a soft mechanical hand, guiding the typewriter's carriage across the page with gentle precision, like a slow, gliding feather settling on the surface of a still pond. Its widespread adoption marked a new era of efficiency in office work, especially in fields involving numbers and lists, such as accounting and clerical administration. The tabulator key's rise was not marked by loud announcements but by the steady, comforting click of machines adopting this practical helper, easing the daily tasks of thousands of workers. Drifting gently now into the early days of global conflict, the year 1914 saw typewriters become crucial tools in the machinery of World War I. These mechanical companions quietly assisted in the rapid transmission of orders, reports, and correspondence across military offices and headquarters. In the soft clatter of battlefield command tents and quiet war rooms, typewriters transformed information into tangible form, enabling armies to coordinate with measured care. Their reliability under difficult conditions was a testament to their sturdy design and the importance of clear communication in times of uncertainty. Though these machines had no voice, their rhythmic tapping carried messages that shaped history in the slow unfolding of days and months. Typewriters became unsung partners in the quiet war effort, typing steadily amidst the chaos, offering a calm and methodical pulse to the swirl of conflict. Let us float gently onward through these echoes of mechanical memory. In the soft unfolding of 1915, the Underwood Typewriter Company began to gently extend its reach beyond offices and businesses, dipping its toes into the quiet waters of mass advertising. These campaigns, carefully crafted and widely distributed, sought to bring the typewriter softly into the heart of the home. Before this time, typewriters were primarily the domain of clerks, secretaries, and businesses, a tool of necessity rather than comfort. But Underwood's advertisements whispered promises of ease, efficiency, and even a touch of elegance, inviting ordinary people to imagine the slow clacking of keys as part of their daily lives. These ads appeared in newspapers, magazines, and posters, their words and images designed to settle gently into the minds of potential buyers like a feather landing on soft moss. The idea was not to rush or excite but to suggest the typewriter as a reliable companion for correspondence, record-keeping, or the quiet craft of personal writing. Let us float gently onward into the world of expanding alphabets and linguistic diversity. By 1917, the typewriter had quietly begun to adapt to the many languages and alphabets beyond the English-speaking world. Custom keyboard layouts emerged, designed to accommodate accented characters, special symbols, and entirely different alphabets, such as Cyrillic or French diacritics. These multilingual typewriters were mechanical marvels of slow, careful design, with keys arranged to suit the unique rhythms and letter frequencies of each language. This thoughtful customization allowed users across the globe to experience the steady comfort of typing in their native tongues, rather than struggling with awkward substitutions or unfamiliar layouts. Imagine the soft clatter of keys arranged like the gentle ripples on a forest pond, each layout quietly reflecting the culture and character of its language. This adaptation was a slow but meaningful step toward a more inclusive and interconnected world, where the whisper of typed words could be heard in many dialects and scripts. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, some multilingual typewriters also included special characters for currency, punctuation, or mathematical symbols, expanding their quiet utility in business and academia alike. Turning now to 1919, the year when the quiet promise of electric typewriters began to take shape and early patents filed by inventive minds. These motorized typing machines were envisioned as a way to ease the physical demands of typing, replacing the human-driven key strikes with the gentle push of electric power. Early designs were modest and experimental, often bulky and complex, much like the first attempts at mechanizing other manual tasks. The electric typewriter promised a steadier, more uniform typing rhythm, reducing finger fatigue and increasing speed without frantic haste. The machines hummed softly with the new energy, their inner parts slowly turning in synchronized dance, as if powered by invisible, sleepy gears deep in a forest's heart. Though these early patents did not immediately transform offices, they laid the groundwork for the gradual arrival of electrically powered typewriters in the decades to come, signaling a gentle shift toward mechanized assistance. Let us float gently onward to the quiet codification of typing technique. In 1920, formal manuals dedicated to touch typing were published, offering slow and methodical instruction for learning the art of typing without looking at the keys. These books were gentle guides, encouraging readers to trust the rhythm of their fingers and the memory of key positions rather than the eyes. The manuals often included exercises, drills, and soothingly repetitive passages designed to build muscle memory through patient practice. Touch typing promised a kind of quiet mastery, freeing the writer's gaze to wander toward the page or screen, while fingers danced lightly on keys like soft feathers brushing a still surface. These instructional books became companions for aspiring typists, inviting them into a slow, focused world where skill and calm concentration intertwined. The publication of such manuals marked an important step in the professionalization of typing, transforming it from a learned trick into an artful craft, accessible to anyone willing to drift gently into its rhythms. Finally, though our journey does not end here, we turn to 1921, when IBM quietly entered the typewriter market. Known initially for their business machines such as punch-card equipment, IBM began producing typewriters that combined precision engineering with a business-like sense of efficiency. Their machines were designed for durability and accuracy, fitting well into the offices and enterprises that relied on careful record-keeping and communication. IBM's entry into the typewriter world signaled a blending of traditional mechanical typing with emerging business technologies, a slow merging of the old and the new. The company's machines were often robust, quiet, and dependable, their keystrokes a steady metronome for clerical work. IBM's typewriters paved the way for later innovations in office machinery, connecting the gentle past of manual typing with the approaching future of automated data processing. Let us float gently onward through these soft echoes of technological evolution. In the quietly unfolding year of 1923, the typewriter world saw the gentle merging of two notable companies, Remington and Rand Cardex. This union formed what became known as Remington Rand, a consolidation that blended the legacies of sturdy machine manufacturing with efficient office supply systems. Imagine, if you will, two slow rivers joining their waters in a tranquil forest glade, their currents mingling and creating a steadier, broader flow. This merger was not a loud upheaval but a soft rearrangement of industry, aiming to streamline production and distribution of office machines. Remington Rand would go on to become a giant in the field, known for its reliable machines that clattered softly across countless desks. The combination brought together expertise in typewriters and filing systems, creating a company that could offer offices a more complete suite of organizational tools, quietly supporting the steady rhythm of business life. Let us float gently onward into the colorful shift that began to brighten typewriter appearances. By 1924, a subtle yet charming trend emerged as manufacturers began offering typewriters in a variety of decorative colors. No longer were these machines limited to austere blacks or browns. Instead, companies experimented with soft pastels, muted greens, and even delicate blues. This gentle splash of color was like a slow brushstroke across an otherwise monochrome landscape, inviting typists to engage with their machines not just as tools but as objects of personal expression. The colored typewriters brought a touch of whimsy and personality into offices and homes, their painted surfaces catching light like dew on mossy leaves. This aesthetic shift, though modest, reflected a growing awareness that typewriters could be both functional and quietly beautiful, blending into the softer corners of life where work met comfort. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, some early colored typewriters used enamel paints that added a subtle gloss, enhancing their gentle visual appeal and making them easier to clean and maintain. In the slow sweep of the mid-1920s, typewriters quietly transcended their mechanical origins to become cultural symbols of modern efficiency and progress. By 1925, the image of a typewriter had drifted into the collective imagination as an emblem of organized work, professionalism, and the orderly management of information. This symbolism appeared in advertisements, office design, and even popular media, where the steady clack of keys came to represent productivity and advancement in an increasingly industrialized society. The typewriter's presence evoked the comforting hum of methodical progress, much like the steady drip of water shaping stone over centuries. It was a device that, while unassuming in appearance, whispered of the promise of clarity, communication, and modernity. Let us drift gently onward to the Royal Typewriter Company's quiet contribution. In 1926, the Royal Typewriter Company introduced a series of portable, lightweight machines that softly broadened the horizons of typing convenience. These new models, designed with mobility in mind, were slimmer and more manageable, inviting users to carry the slow art of typing beyond the confines of their desks. Like a feather caught on a gentle breeze, these portables made writing possible in cafes, hotel rooms, or quiet nooks beneath rustling leaves. Royal's innovations balanced mechanical reliability with the ease of transport, ensuring that the typing experience remained steady and comfortable even when on the move. These machines were celebrated for their soft touch and durable design, quietly accompanying writers and clerks in their varied, gentle routines. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, the portability of these machines helped inspire the eventual development of typewriters designed specifically for travel and fieldwork, expanding the typewriter's role in everyday life. The year 1927 brought with it a new kind of quiet spectacle: early public typing contests. These competitions invited typists to showcase their speed and accuracy in a setting of gentle rivalry, their fingers fluttering over keys like soft wings brushing through still air. Though not noisy or raucous events, these contests were filled with slow-building tension and measured excitement as participants sought to demonstrate their mastery of the keyboard. Typing contests provided a way to celebrate the skill and discipline required for efficient typing, offering public recognition to those who could coax the most letters from their machines with steady precision. The events were often held in theaters or community halls, where audiences could watch the rhythmic tapping unfold like a softly turning page in a slow-moving book. Let us float gently onward to the hush of quieter machines. In 1928, improvements in typewriter design gave rise to what were known as silent typewriters, models specifically marketed for their quieter operation in offices and homes. These machines employed refined mechanisms, such as dampened type bars and softer striking parts, to reduce the familiar clatter and clank associated with earlier machines. The silent typewriter was like a soft breeze passing through a leafy canopy, barely disturbing the stillness while maintaining steady function. This gentle quieting of the machine's voice made typing less intrusive, encouraging concentration and calm in busy workspaces. Typists could now enjoy the rhythmic tapping without the distraction of sharp mechanical noise, allowing the words to flow in a more meditative, undisturbed fashion. The quiet typewriter was a subtle companion for those seeking peace amid productivity, a soothing presence in the often noisy hum of office life. Let us float gently onward through these softly turning gears of history. As the calendar slowly turns to 1929, the quiet world of typewriting saw the gentle emergence of professional repair and service shops devoted to these mechanical companions. These businesses blossom softly like mushrooms beneath the canopy of a mossy forest, offering skilled hands to tend the intricate inner workings of typewriters worn by years of gentle use. Typing machines, with their delicate arrays of levers, springs, and ribbons, required periodic attention to maintain their steady rhythm and clear impressions on paper. Repair shops became sanctuaries of slow, careful craftsmanship, where technicians could disassemble and reassemble parts with meticulous patience, ensuring that every key and type bar danced with quiet precision. Customers brought their machines to these havens, entrusting them to experts who understood the subtle hums and clicks like whispered secrets of an ancient forest. The maintenance performed was not hurried but deliberate, a slow ritual of restoring balance to the complex harmony of metal and ink. Let us float gently onward toward the subtle standardization of the page itself. By 1930, typewriters began to adapt more fully to the needs of an increasingly interconnected world through the standardization of paper sizes. The international adoption of standard formats, such as the A and B series of paper sizes formalized by the International Organization for Standardization, ISO, gently influenced the design and adjustment of typewriters. Machines were calibrated to accommodate these paper dimensions, ensuring that margins, tab stops, and carriage widths aligned smoothly with commonly used sheets. This quiet alignment between machine and medium was like the slow adjustment of a clock's hands, bringing order and predictability to the writing process. The standardization offered typists a comforting assurance that their documents would fit neatly within expected sizes, whether for business letters, official reports, or personal correspondence. The marriage of machine and paper was an unhurried conversation of form and function, helping the typed word to rest peacefully within well-defined borders. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, the ISO paper size standards that influenced these adjustments remain widely used today, shaping not only typewriting but also printing and copying processes worldwide. Softly drifting into 1931, the Underwood Company experimented with early electric typewriter prototypes, exploring the possibilities of motorized assistance to the slow tap of human fingers. These experimental models sought to replace the mechanical energy of finger strikes with the steady hum of electric power, promising a more uniform and less tiring typing experience. The prototypes were often bulky and somewhat delicate, still feeling their way through the quiet forest of mechanization, but their existence hinted at a coming transformation. These machines moved with a gentle, persistent energy, their inner parts turning like slowly spinning gears in a clock, smoothing the repetitive motion of typing without haste or strain. The electric typewriter prototypes represented a whispered promise of easing human effort, a subtle partnership between man and machine designed to cradle tired fingers in soft mechanical rhythm. Let us float gently onward to an unexpected twist in the story of typing and identity. In 1932, a quietly fascinating application of typing emerged within the field of forensics: fingerprint analysis through typing rhythm. Researchers began to study the unique cadence and pressure patterns individual typists exerted on their machines, noting subtle variations that could serve as personal identifiers. Much like the soft patterns of moss growth on tree bark or the gentle ripples on a pond's surface, each person's typing style carried a distinct signature, a fingerprint not in ink but in the tempo and force of key presses. This method offered investigators an additional, if somewhat slow and meticulous, tool for verifying authorship or identifying suspects based on typed documents. It was an unusual intersection of human idiosyncrasy and mechanical regularity, revealing how the quiet act of typing could speak volumes beyond words. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. These early forensic typing analyses paved the way for more advanced biometric studies in later decades, illustrating the deep connection between person and machine rhythm. Turning now to 1933, the typewriter found itself unexpectedly woven into the fabric of art with the emergence of typewriter art. This quiet creative expression involved using symbols, letters, and punctuation marks arranged carefully on the page to form portraits, landscapes, and abstract patterns, a mechanical mosaic known today as ASCII art. Artists would slowly tap away, layering characters to build up images with surprising detail and depth, transforming the humble typewriter from a mere tool of communication into an instrument of visual poetry. Each typed symbol was like a tiny brushstroke in a muted palette, and the resulting works invited viewers to slow down and appreciate the delicate interplay of form and texture. The emergence of typewriter art was a whisper of imagination in the methodical world of typing, reminding us that even the most practical machines could be channels for gentle creativity. Let us float gently onward to the aesthetic evolution of the machines themselves. In 1934, typewriter design began to adopt a new visual language characterized by streamlined, aerodynamic cases. This aesthetic shift was part of a broader cultural embrace of sleek, modern forms inspired by the principles of motion and speed, even as the machines themselves continued their deliberate and unhurried operation. The smooth, rounded contours and polished surfaces suggested a machine built for efficiency and grace, gliding softly like a feather caught in a gentle current. The streamlined design was less about function and more about quiet style, a slow nod to the changing tastes of the era. These new cases often used glossy finishes and simple lines, removing excess ornamentation in favor of understated elegance. This aesthetic evolution brought the typewriter into harmony with other contemporary machines, cars, radios, appliances, all echoing the same gentle whisper of modernity. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Some collectors today prize these streamlined models for their blend of beauty and mechanical reliability, artifacts of a time when design and function began their delicate dance. As these soft stories settle gently in your thoughts, allow them to drift freely without pressure or expectation, like slow-moving clouds over a quiet woodland. In the gentle unfolding of 1935, typewriter manufacturers began to experiment thoughtfully with ergonomic key layouts, seeking to ease the subtle strains and slow tensions that daily typing could impose on the human hand. These early designs aimed to arrange keys not merely by letter frequency or tradition, but by the natural, comfortable motions of fingers and wrists. Imagine a soft breeze gently repositioning leaves on a branch, coaxing them into an arrangement that feels just right to the touch. Though these ergonomic layouts were not widely adopted at the time, they whispered a quiet promise of ease and care, an invitation for typists to glide their fingers more comfortably, reducing fatigue over long hours spent with their mechanical companions. These experiments were careful and unhurried, focusing on subtle shifts rather than abrupt changes, honoring the slow, deliberate rhythm of typing itself. Let us float gently onward to the evolution of tabulation technology. In 1936, the humble tabulator key saw a quiet advancement with the release of systems featuring settable tab stops. These allowed typists to define exact positions on the page where the carriage would halt when the tab key was pressed, offering greater control over text alignment and formatting. This innovation was akin to placing gentle markers along the forest path, guiding the carriage's progress with measured precision and soft predictability. The advanced tabulator stops made organizing columns, tables, and indentations a more soothing and reliable experience, reducing the need for tedious manual spacing. It was a small but meaningful improvement, easing the typist's workflow and fostering a calmer relationship with the mechanical page. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, some later tabulator systems incorporated visual indicators or stops that could be adjusted with ease, allowing typists to customize their workspace like gardeners tending carefully pruned hedges. Moving quietly into 1937, manufacturers turned increased attention to the reduction of typing noise, marketing quieter machines designed to bring harmony and calm to busy offices. The familiar clatter of typebars striking paper, once a constant companion to clerical workers, was softened through the use of dampening materials, redesigned mechanisms, and more precise engineering. These quieter typewriters whispered rather than shouted, allowing the rhythmic tapping to become a gentle, unobtrusive background sound instead of a sharp intrusion. The focus on noise reduction was a tender nod to the importance of creating peaceful work environments, acknowledging that concentration thrives in quiet spaces where thoughts can drift undisturbed. Imagine the slow, muffled footsteps of a deer in a dense forest, present, but hardly noticed, blending seamlessly into the natural calm. Let us float gently onward to a small but impactful mechanical refinement. In 1938, typewriters received an improvement to the carriage return lever, making its design more efficient and comfortable for users. The carriage return lever, that softly sweeping arm that moved the paper back to the starting position while advancing to the next line, was redesigned with smoother motion and better ergonomics. This subtle enhancement reduced the effort and awkwardness sometimes associated with returning the carriage, allowing typists to maintain their slow, steady rhythm without interruption. The refined lever moved with a gentle grace, like the slow opening of a flower petal or the turning of a softly oiled gear. It was a quiet engineering triumph, focusing on the tiniest details that contributed to the overall ease and flow of typing. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Some models even added small guards or stops to prevent accidental carriage returns, further refining the delicate balance between control and mechanical motion. The year 1939 ushered in a somber but vital chapter in typewriter history as these machines were deployed extensively across military theaters during World War II. Field typewriters became crucial tools for communication, enabling the swift and reliable transmission of orders, reports, and intelligence. Despite the harsh conditions of combat zones, dust, mud, rain, and the wear of constant movement, these typewriters were designed or adapted to remain sturdy and functional. Soldiers and clerks relied on their rhythmic, mechanical companions to preserve clarity in the chaos of war, their keystrokes echoing like measured drumbeats amidst uncertainty. The field typewriter was often portable, rugged, and straightforward, built to withstand the slow, relentless pressures of military use. It served as a quiet but essential bridge between command and action, a steady pulse in the unfolding narrative of conflict. Let us float gently onward to a whispered mastery of duplication. By 1940, typewriters were optimized to better accommodate carbon paper, enabling the production of multiple copies of a document with a single typing session. This mastery of carbon copying was a boon for business and administrative work, where reproducing forms, letters, and records was necessary but could be time-consuming if done by hand. The machines were adjusted to apply sufficient force through several layers of paper and carbon sheets, ensuring that each copy received a clear impression without excessive effort or wear on the keys. The process was a quiet choreography of pressure and precision, each keystroke translating into a layered echo of ink on multiple pages. This capability allowed offices to maintain orderly records and communicate with efficiency that was both gentle and effective. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Some typists developed specialized techniques for managing carbon ribbons and papers, carefully aligning sheets like leaves stacked softly beneath one another to achieve the best results. As these quiet stories settle softly in your thoughts, let them drift like mist through a tranquil forest, unhurried and undisturbed. In the slowly turning year of 1941, typewriters found an unexpected role in the quiet world of cryptography, particularly in the Allied efforts to decode messages encrypted by the German Enigma machine. While the Enigma itself was a complex cipher device, typewriters and typewriter-like machines were employed by codebreakers to transcribe, analyze, and test decrypted texts with care and precision. These machines, though humble in appearance, became essential tools in the painstaking process of unraveling secrets concealed in strings of letters. Imagine a dimly lit room where softly ticking clocks and the gentle tapping of keys created an atmosphere of focused patience, each keystroke a tentative step toward clarity in a murky forest of codes. The typewriters acted as silent collaborators, transforming cryptic sequences into readable language, assisting analysts in their slow but steady progress toward understanding. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Some of the typewriters used in these efforts were specially modified to handle rapid typing and multiple typists, quietly adapting to the intense demands of wartime intelligence work. Let us float gently onward into the surge of manual typing that followed. The year 1942 saw a significant increase in the demand for manual typewriters, largely driven by the surge in wartime correspondence. Letters flowed steadily between soldiers on distant battlefields and their families, alongside the voluminous reports and dispatches needed to keep military and government operations running smoothly. The typewriter, a quiet yet essential instrument, became more than a mere office tool. It was a lifeline connecting worlds separated by distance and uncertainty. Factories worked diligently to meet this demand, producing machines with steady, reassuring regularity. Typists, many working long hours, became steady hands guiding these machines through ceaseless streams of paper, their fingers moving in practiced rhythms like slow, steady raindrops falling through a forest canopy. The manual typewriter's mechanical heartbeat echoed in offices, military posts, and homes, uniting disparate lives in the quiet continuity of written word. Let us drift gently onward to the remarkable social shifts that accompanied this era. By 1943, the term typewriter girls became a gentle descriptor for the growing number of women who dominated office typing roles during World War II. With many men deployed overseas, women stepped softly into clerical positions, bringing their steady focus and patient dexterity to the essential task of typing. These women, working quietly behind the rhythmic clatter of keys, maintained the vital flow of communication that kept governments, businesses, and families connected. The typewriter, in their hands, became a tool of both productivity and quiet empowerment, offering a steady, measured rhythm that echoed their contributions to the war effort. Typing pools were scenes of concentrated calm, where fingers moved like soft feathers brushing leaves, producing letters and documents that shaped the slow unfolding of history. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, the phrase typewriter girl was often used in advertisements and popular media, reflecting societal recognition of these women's essential roles, even as they worked in modest anonymity. Let us float gently onward to the instructional aids that supported their work. In 1944, typewriter training films emerged as gentle instructional tools designed for both military and civilian typists. These films carefully guided viewers through the nuances of typing technique, machine maintenance, and office protocol with slow, deliberate pacing. Their calm narration and step-by-step demonstrations were intended to soothe learners into mastery, much like a slow stream guides a leaf downstream without rush. Often produced in black and white, these films featured close-ups of fingers gliding over keys, the mechanics of the machine unfolding in soft focus. They provided a shared language of instruction that could reach a wide audience, ensuring consistency and proficiency in the crucial skill of typing during a time when effective communication was paramount. The training films became companions in learning, their gentle voices and measured tempo offering reassurance to novices and veterans alike. Let us drift gently onward into the post-war world's embrace. With the end of the war in 1945, a flood of typewriters entered the commercial market as offices expanded and economies shifted toward peacetime productivity. This post-war boom saw manufacturers ramping up production to meet the needs of businesses eager to replace older equipment or establish new workspaces. Typewriters became fixtures in offices large and small, their steady tapping a ubiquitous sound in the rebirth of commerce and administration. The machines, sturdy and reliable, symbolized a return to order and routine after years of global upheaval. Imagine quiet offices filled with the soft rustling of paper and the gentle clicks of keys, a symphony of calm continuity. This period laid the groundwork for the modern office environment, where the typewriter was a central figure in the daily dance of work and communication. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, some surplus military typewriters were refurbished and sold commercially, their rugged designs lending a certain quiet durability to post-war office life. In 1946, IBM introduced the electromatic typewriter, a breakthrough in electric typing that promised smoother, more consistent performance. This machine harnessed electric power to assist the typist's fingers, reducing fatigue and increasing typing speed without sacrificing the gentle precision that typists valued. The Electromatic's design was a thoughtful blend of mechanical tradition and modern innovation, with electric motors quietly humming beneath sleek housings. It moved with a calm, steady energy, like softly turning gears deep within a clock tower, orchestrating the flow of letters onto the page with measured grace. This introduction marked the beginning of a new era where electric assistants would gradually transform the tactile experience of typing, offering a quiet partnership between human and machine. Let us float gently onward through the unfolding chapters of typewriter history. In the gentle unfolding of 1947, typewriters began to find new homes beyond the office, as manufacturers softly turned their attention to marketing portable models specifically for students and writers. These machines, crafted with careful balance between sturdiness and lightness, invited a more intimate companionship, a typewriter that could be carried like a cherished book or a delicate feather drifting through the air. The portable boom was not just a commercial trend, it was a slow invitation for creative expression to wander beyond static desks and into cozy bedrooms, sunlit porches, or quiet cafes tucked away like mossy clearings. Writers and students alike embraced these machines as patient collaborators, their steady keystrokes setting a calm rhythm for thoughts to unfurl and settle gently onto paper. The portability promised freedom without sacrificing the familiar tactile comfort of typing, bridging worlds with slow, deliberate strokes. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, many early portable typewriters came with custom carrying cases, often padded and lined with soft fabric, offering protection as tender as a cradle for a fledgling bird. Let us float gently onward to the subtle enhancements of margins and bells. By 1948, typewriters had become a touch more intuitive with the introduction of improvements to margins and bells, those soft signals and boundaries guiding the typist's hand. Margins could now be set more easily, defining the left and right boundaries of text like invisible fences gently containing a quiet garden. These controls allowed for more fluid formatting and tidier documents, reducing the need for manual correction or guessing. Meanwhile, the bell, a small, clear chime, rang softly to alert the typist that the end of a line was approaching. This gentle reminder helped maintain the slow flow of text without abrupt stops or hurried corrections, preserving a steady and measured typing pace. The bells were tuned to a tone that was pleasant but unobtrusive, like a distant bird call on a calm morning. These refinements brought an almost conversational softness to the interaction between human and machine, quietly guiding rather than commanding. Let us float gently onward to a subtle material transformation. The year 1949 saw the emergence of plastic typewriter bodies, a delicate shift away from the heavier metals that had previously dominated machine construction. This transition allowed for lighter units that retained their durability, like leaves evolving into thinner, more flexible forms without losing their resilience. Plastic casings made the machines more manageable to carry and use, especially in the growing market for portable typewriters, while also introducing subtle variations in texture and finish. These materials could be molded with more precision and adorned with a variety of colors and patterns, softly blending function with aesthetic possibility. The change from metal to plastic was a quiet revolution in manufacturing, reducing weight without sacrificing the sturdy feel typists depended upon. But first, a slow little detour for this extra interesting fact. The plastics used were typically early thermoplastics such as bakelite, prized for their hardness and electrical insulating properties, gently echoing the emerging modernity of post-war industry. Let us float gently onward into the bustling world of journalism. By 1950, the typewriter had become an essential tool in newsrooms across the globe, quietly underpinning the rapid but careful transmission of information. Reporters, editors, and copy typists relied on the machine's steady cadence to compose stories, headlines, and corrections with deliberate urgency softened by mechanical reliability. Newsrooms, often filled with the soft clatter of keys, were places where the slow march of letters onto paper translated into the fast flow of news to the public. The typewriter's role in journalism was both practical and symbolic, representing the meticulous gathering and dissemination of facts. Even as deadlines approached and the newsroom buzzed with activity, the typewriter remained a calm and focused companion, its keys a reassuring presence amid the flurry. Let us float gently onward to a simple but useful innovation. In 1951, typewriters gained a manual color ribbon shift lever, allowing typists to alternate between red and black ribbon colors on demand. This feature introduced a quiet versatility to documents, enabling typists to emphasize words or sections with a splash of color without changing ribbons mid-task. The lever worked with gentle precision, smoothly shifting the ribbon position and allowing the inked impression to change hue. It was a subtle tool of expression and clarity, offering visual cues within otherwise monochrome pages. The manual aspect required a soft attentiveness from the typist, a gentle reminder of the slow dance between machine and operator. But first, a slow little detour for this extra interesting fact. Some specialized ribbons offered additional colors or multi-stripe patterns, quietly expanding the typist's palette within the mechanical constraints of the time. Let us float gently onward toward a personal touch in typography. By 1952, select typewriter models began to offer script fonts, a charming introduction of personalized, cursive-like type styles. This innovation allowed users to create documents that felt more intimate and handwritten, softening the mechanical regularity of traditional typefaces. Script fonts added a whisper of elegance and individuality to typed pages, as if the machine had learned to mimic the gentle flow of a fountain pen across parchment. These fonts were crafted carefully, balancing the needs of mechanical reproducibility with the aesthetic desire for personality in text. They brought a quiet artistry to office and personal documents alike, blurring the boundary between human hand and machine precision. Let us float gently onward to the dawn of a revolutionary design. In 1953, IBM began the design phase of the Selectric typewriter, a machine destined to revolutionize typing through its innovative typeball system. Unlike traditional typebars that moved individually, the Selectric's spherical type element rotated and pivoted to strike the paper, allowing for faster typing and easy font changes. This new mechanism promised a quieter, smoother operation, its internal movements likened to softly turning gears in a clockwork box hidden from view. The Selectric's design phase was a slow, thoughtful process, blending engineering ingenuity with a desire for a gentler, more efficient typing experience. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, the Selectric would eventually replace the jamming issues of earlier typebars with a fluid, almost balletic mechanism that whispered rather than clattered, an advance that typists would come to cherish. Let us float gently onward through these turning pages of typewriter history. In the gentle unfolding of 1954, the quiet world of office design began to embrace furniture tailored specifically to the needs of typists. Desks and chairs were thoughtfully crafted with the slow rhythms of typing in mind, offering comfortable support and convenient layouts that encouraged steady, fatigue-free work. These tailored environments allowed fingers to glide softly over keys without strain, much like the slow, deliberate motions of a feather drifting on a gentle breeze. The desks often included built-in platforms and angled surfaces designed to cradle typewriters securely, while chairs were adjusted to promote a calm posture that could be sustained through long hours of rhythmic tapping. This thoughtful arrangement of space and support was less about speed and more about comfort, an invitation to settle deeply into the soothing flow of typing. Let us float gently onward to a quiet literary embrace. By 1955, typewriters had quietly inspired a unique form of literature, novels written solely on these machines that would gain recognition for their tangible connection between author and craft. Writers found solace in the deliberate pace imposed by the typewriter, a steady companion that transformed scattered thoughts into slow-moving narratives. The mechanical clatter of keys punctuated moments of creation, each page a testament to patience and persistence. These novels, born from countless hours of slow keystrokes, carried within the intimate traces of their making, a tactile rhythm and visual uniformity that spoke softly of dedication. The typewriter's presence was woven into the very fabric of these works, a silent collaborator whispering alongside the author's mind. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, many celebrated authors kept multiple typewriters, favoring particular models for different projects, treating their machines almost like trusted friends. Let us drift gently onward to the subtle branding of machines. In 1956, companies began to place their own gentle marks upon typewriters through custom corporate branding, ordering machines labeled with company names or logos. This quiet personalization was both a practical means of identification and a soft statement of pride, turning everyday machines into branded symbols of corporate identity. These custom-labeled typewriters often found their places in offices where the slow, steady work of communication reinforced the company's presence in the world. The branding was applied with care, typically embossed or printed in subtle tones that harmonized with the machine's design, avoiding anything too flashy or abrupt. This understated decoration whispered of belonging and professionalism, blending seamlessly with the soft clatter of keys and the rustle of paper. Let us float gently onward to the expanding reach of typing education. By 1957, home typing lessons had quietly expanded beyond classrooms, reaching new learners through radio broadcasts and book-based courses. These gentle educational programs invited individuals to develop their typing skills in the comfort of their own spaces, guided by calm voices and carefully paced instruction. Radio lessons, in particular, paired spoken encouragement with suggested practice, as if a patient tutor were sitting beside the learner, offering soft guidance with every tap and pause. Books provided diagrams and exercises, inviting readers to explore the slow art of typing through deliberate repetition and quiet focus. This expansion of typing education was a tender effort to democratize skill and ease, spreading the gentle dance of fingers over keys to homes near and far. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, some courses included special practice sheets that mimicked typewriter keyboards, allowing learners to trace keys before touching their machines. Let us drift gently onward to a model celebrated for its smoothness. In 1958, the Royal Quiet Tab model gained acclaim for its remarkably smooth operation, a machine designed to reduce the noise and friction often associated with typing. Its mechanisms were refined with attention to detail, allowing keys to depress and release with a softness that felt like velvet brushing over a gentle surface. The Quiet Tab was especially prized in office environments where maintaining a calm, quiet atmosphere was valued, offering typists a chance to work without the usual clatter and clang. The tabulation system was also lauded for its ease, enabling smooth, silent navigation through columns and indents. This model became a favorite for those seeking a more meditative and less intrusive typing experience, a gentle companion in the ongoing conversation between human and machine. Let us float gently onward toward the hushed unveiling of a new innovation. In 1959, IBM introduced prototype units of their soon-to-be famous Selectric typewriter to industry insiders, quietly demonstrating the machine's revolutionary typeball system and smooth operation. These demo units moved with a grace unlike traditional typewriters, their spherical typing element rotating and pivoting to deliver each letter with precise and quiet efficiency. The prototypes were shared in softly lit rooms where curious observers could watch the machine's internal gears turn like slowly revolving planets in a gentle orbit. The Selectric promised a typing experience that was less about mechanical clatter and more about seamless, flowing motion, an invitation to slow down and engage deeply with each word. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, these early demos were often accompanied by explanatory pamphlets that emphasized the machine's reliability and ease of maintenance, calming concerns about this new technological approach. Let us drift gently onward as the story of the typewriter continues its unhurried journey. In the softly unfolding year of 1960, the IBM Selectric typewriter was quietly released to the world, introducing a remarkable innovation, the typeball. This spherical typing element replaced the traditional, sometimes stubborn type bars, rotating and pivoting with delicate precision to imprint each character onto paper. The Selectric moved with a smoothness akin to softly turning gears deep within an ancient clock tower, offering a typing experience both more efficient and less noisy than its predecessors. This gentle revolution was met with widespread acceptance, becoming a massive success not through loud fanfare but through quiet, consistent reliability. Typists found themselves caressing keys that responded with newfound grace, the machine's inner workings whispering secrets of mechanical harmony. The typeball's design allowed for easier maintenance and fewer jams, qualities that lent themselves to a slower, more meditative rhythm of work. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. The typeball could be swapped out to change fonts, a feature that quietly expanded the typist's creative palette, much like an artist selecting brushes for different strokes. Let us float gently onward to an invention that eased the small burdens of error. In 1961, the invention of the correction tape softly transformed the typist's relationship with mistakes, offering a gentle way to amend errors without disrupting the flow of work. Before this, errors required messy correction fluids or the cumbersome retyping of entire pages. Correction tape acted like a quiet eraser, applied delicately over unwanted letters to restore the pristine white of the page. Typists could then retype the corrected character with calm assurance, maintaining the continuity of their thoughts and the gentle rhythm of their fingers. The tape was a subtle ally in the slow dance between human intention and mechanical output, reducing the anxiety of imperfection with a practical, tactile solution. Let us drift gently onward to the blossoming of typeball versatility. By 1962, the Selectric's typeball system blossomed into a variety of swappable fonts and sizes, allowing users to change their text's appearance with ease reminiscent of a painter selecting colors from a palette. This ability brought a quiet personalization to typing, enabling documents to shift in tone and style without the need for multiple machines. Users could choose from elegant scripts, bold typefaces, or smaller sizes, each option enhancing the mood of the text like soft sunlight filtering through leaves. This innovation was both practical and poetic, offering flexibility within the steady cadence of typed letters. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. The process of swapping typeballs required care and precision, typists handling the small spheres as if turning fragile, moss-covered stones in a forest stream. Let us float gently onward to a splash of keyboard whimsy. In 1963, colored keycaps emerged as a playful yet gentle marketing trend, introducing a quiet variety of hues to the otherwise monochrome keyboard landscape. Soft pastels and muted tones brightened machines without overwhelming their understated presence, adding a whisper of individuality to each typist's experience. These colors were carefully chosen to soothe rather than distract, much like the subtle blush of dawn spreading slowly across a misty sky. The colored keycaps invited users to engage their senses more fully, making the act of typing a slightly more tactile and visual pleasure. Let us drift gently onward into the realm of cultural presence. By 1964, typewriters had softly woven themselves into popular culture, appearing in films and music videos as symbols of communication, creativity, and the modern office environment. These machines, with their steady cadence and tactile charm, lent atmosphere and authenticity to storytelling, evoking eras past and the quiet dignity of written word. Their rhythmic tapping became a subtle soundtrack, underscoring scenes of reflection, urgency, or quiet determination. The typewriter's presence in popular media was a gentle reminder of its enduring role in the human narrative, a mechanical muse in a world increasingly enamored with new technologies. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, some films showcased actual typewriters on set, chosen carefully for their authentic sounds and appearances, adding layers of sensory texture to the viewing experience. Let us float gently onward to the rise of typing as a novelty. In 1965, the emergence of custom typing services brought a soft novelty to the written word, with typewritten letters and documents sold as unique, personalized items. These services allowed customers to commission letters for special occasions or artistic purposes, transforming the typewriter's mechanical output into a form of gentle craftsmanship. The charm of a typewritten note, with its slightly imperfect alignments and tactile impressions, offered a warmth and intimacy that handwritten or printed text sometimes lacked. This trend was a quiet celebration of the human touch mediated through machinery, turning everyday communication into a tender ritual. Let us drift gently onward to the growth of transcription. By 1966, transcription typing quietly expanded, supporting the growing secretarial and administrative roles that converted dictated speech into written form. Transcriptionists listened attentively, their fingers translating spoken words into steady streams of text with practiced patience. This work demanded both focus and softness, as the typist balanced the rapid pace of speech with the deliberate motions of the keyboard. The transcription process was a slow, thoughtful transformation of voice into type, bridging the ephemeral and the permanent through the gentle rhythm of mechanical letters. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, transcriptionists often used specialized headphones and foot pedals, technologies that enhanced their slow but steady interaction with spoken language. Let us float gently onward as the quiet history of typewriters continues. In the slow, deliberate year of 1967, typographic layout manuals began to appear as gentle guides for typists and printers, offering quiet instruction on the subtle arts of margins, justification, and spacing. These manuals were carefully crafted documents, rich with detailed explanations and examples that unfolded the principles of arranging text on a page with calm precision. They invited their readers to consider not just the letters themselves but the spaces between, the breathing room that allows words to rest softly upon the paper. Margins were explained as invisible borders that framed the text like a mossy forest surrounds a quiet pond, while justification taught how to balance words evenly, creating harmonious blocks of text that please the eye without abrupt edges. Spacing guidelines ensured that letters and words maintained gentle distances, avoiding overcrowding or lonely isolation. These manuals were, in essence, lullabies of layout, slowly guiding typists to create documents that whispered rather than shouted. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, some of these manuals were illustrated with delicate line drawings, their soft curves and lines echoing the calm rhythms they sought to teach. Let us float gently onward into the arrival of portable electric typewriters. The year 1968 saw the quiet introduction of battery-powered portable electric typewriters, machines that combined the intimacy of portability with the subtle assistance of electric power. These models offered typists the freedom to carry their machines gently from place to place, no longer tethered to the slow hum of wall outlets. Instead, they hummed softly, powered by batteries that whispered energy into the typing mechanism. The portability and electric assistance worked together like a slow river and its steady current, easing the effort of pressing keys and moving the carriage. This marriage of mobility and modern convenience opened new possibilities for writers, students, and professionals who sought a companion that moved with them through varied spaces, quiet libraries, sun-dappled parks, or cozy nooks. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, early models sometimes faced challenges with battery life and weight, requiring thoughtful balancing acts by designers seeking to preserve the gentle ease of use. Let us drift gently onward to the extraordinary reach of typewriters beyond our earthly bounds. In 1969, typewriters ventured beyond the soft embrace of terrestrial offices and found themselves aboard NASA spacecraft, modified carefully for use in the unique conditions of orbit. These machines were adapted to the microgravity environment, where the usual clatter and motion required thoughtful re-engineering to function smoothly. Astronauts used these quiet companions to document experiments, compose reports, and maintain logs during missions that drifted silently above our blue planet. The typewriters in space became symbols of human persistence, tools that brought the tactile certainty of the written word into the vast, weightless expanse. Their gentle tapping echoed softly within the confined quarters of spacecraft, a reminder of familiar routines amid extraordinary surroundings. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, NASA's modifications included securing the machines to surfaces and adjusting the mechanisms to prevent keys from sticking in zero gravity, showcasing a quiet blend of engineering ingenuity and practical care. Let us float gently onward toward the evolution of ink ribbons. By 1970, thermal ribbon technology quietly emerged, offering typewriters longer-lasting, cleaner printing options that reduced smudging and the need for frequent ribbon changes. Unlike traditional ink ribbons, these thermal ribbons used heat-sensitive elements to transfer images onto paper, producing crisp, consistent impressions with minimal mess. This development was a soft improvement in the ongoing conversation between typist and machine, easing maintenance and enhancing the clarity of typed documents. The ribbons lasted longer, their endurance akin to a slowly burning candle providing steady light through a long night. This technology not only preserved the neatness of pages but also gently eased the daily tasks of typists, allowing them to focus on the rhythm of their work rather than interruptions for ribbon replacement. Let us drift gently onward to the quiet debut of a new Selectric. In 1971, IBM launched the Selectric II, an improved electric typewriter model that built upon the gentle innovations of its predecessor. The Selectric II featured refined mechanisms that enhanced reliability, typing speed, and ease of use, moving with a whisper rather than a clatter. Its internal workings were engineered with thoughtful care, like slowly turning gears that meshed seamlessly to produce consistent impressions on paper. Typists found the Selectric II to be a calm, steady partner in their work, offering smooth operation and quiet confidence. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. The Selectric 2 included features such as interchangeable typeballs and correction capabilities that reduced the frustration of errors, embracing the imperfect nature of human-typed text with gentle understanding. Let us float gently onward into the realm of accessibility. By 1972, typewriters were thoughtfully adapted to support disabled users, marking a quiet step toward inclusive design in office technology. Machines were modified with features like larger keys, specialized keyboards, and adjustable components to accommodate varied physical abilities. These adaptations opened gentle pathways for many to engage with the steady art of typing, transforming the typewriter into a tool of empowerment and connection. The changes were often subtle, like soft ripples across still water, designed to enhance usability without disrupting the familiar flow of keystrokes. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Some adaptations included foot pedals or alternative input devices, quietly expanding the ways in which human intention could be translated into typed words. Let us drift gently onward as the story of the typewriter continues to unfold in peaceful progression. In the gentle unfolding of 1973, IBM introduced the Correcting Selectric, a typewriter model quietly embracing built-in correction tools that softened the frustrations of typographical errors. This machine offered a subtle revolution in user experience, allowing typists to amend mistakes without the usual fuss of whiteout or retyping entire lines. The correction mechanism operated with delicate precision, gently lifting ink from the page or overlaying correction tape with a quiet assurance. Typists could resume their work with calm continuity, their fingers flowing across keys in a steady rhythm uninterrupted by worry. The Correcting Selectric was like a trusted companion who understands the human tendency to err and responds with quiet patience. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. The correction technology involved a small ribbon of white tape that could be advanced precisely under the typing element, covering unwanted marks with a soft, matte finish, awaiting the retyping of the correct character. Let us float gently onward to the dawn of memory in typewriting. By 1974, the beginnings of word processing quietly emerged, as typewriters incorporated early memory systems that gently hinted at the future union of typewriting and computing. These early models, still tethered to the familiar mechanics of typebars or typeballs, introduced subtle electronic features that allowed users to store small amounts of text or instructions. This blending of tactile typing and electronic memory was a slow dance between the analog and digital worlds, a whispered promise of smoother editing and greater control. Users could now envision a typing experience where errors could be undone with a key press rather than physical correction, where text could be rearranged without retyping entire pages. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. These early memory systems were limited by the technology of their time, often able to hold only a few dozen characters, yet their presence marked a profound step toward modern word processing. Let us drift gently onward to the colorful blossoming of font designs. In 1975, decorative fonts found their quiet stage through the sale of playful typeballs adorned with whimsical designs and unusual typefaces. These fonts invited typists to experiment gently with the aesthetics of their documents, adding soft flourishes and delicate personality to the steady cadence of text. From elegant scripts to quirky shapes, these typeballs expanded the typist's creative palette much like a painter discovering new hues. The availability of decorative fonts transformed the usually utilitarian page into a canvas of quiet expression, inviting slow appreciation of form and style. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, these playful typeballs required careful handling, as their intricate designs demanded precise alignment and regular maintenance to keep their gentle impressions clear and consistent. Let us float gently onward into the quiet world of typewriter enthusiasts. By 1976, the quiet growth of typewriter clubs and collector communities began to weave a soft network of aficionados who cherished the machines not only for their function but as objects of history and beauty. These hobbyists gathered to share stories, repair techniques, and their appreciation for the slow mechanical poetry of typewriters. Their gatherings were peaceful celebrations of a disappearing art, where dusty keys and worn ribbons spoke of countless hours of gentle tapping and careful crafting. Collectors prized rare models and preserved the legacy of typewriting with patient devotion, often exchanging parts and knowledge as softly as feathers drifting on a breeze. Let us drift gently onward to the slow conclusion of an era. In 1977, some companies began to cease production of manual typewriters, signaling a quiet turning point as electric and electronic models gradually took precedence. The last manual machines rolled off factory lines like the final leaves falling from an old tree, marking the end of an era defined by the tactile immediacy and rhythmic clatter of purely mechanical typing. These manual typewriters, with their intricate linkages and levers, had provided generations with steady companionship, their keys tapping out the soft murmurs of correspondence and creation. Though production slowed, the machines themselves continued to live on in homes and offices, cherished for their simple, unhurried nature. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, some manual models remained in production for years in smaller markets, quietly defying the wave of modernization. Let us float gently onward to an innovation in ribbon technology. In 1978, the introduction of cartridge ribbons softly transformed the maintenance of typewriters by replacing traditional spool-based ribbons with easy-install cartridges. This advancement simplified the process of changing ribbons, allowing typists to swap out ink supplies with a gentle click, much like sliding a feathered quill into a new inkwell. Cartridge ribbons reduced the fumbling and slow threading required by spools, supporting a smoother, uninterrupted workflow. The cartridges were designed for convenience, holding the inked ribbon taut and protected, ensuring consistent contact with the typeball or typebars. This small but meaningful innovation lightened the typist's daily care routine, inviting more moments of peaceful focus on the act of creation itself. Let us drift gently onward as the soft story of typewriters continues to unfold in quiet harmony. In the softly turning year of 1979, the daisy wheel mechanism quietly gained popularity as an alternative to the IBM Selectrix typeball. This innovation presented a new approach to imprinting characters onto paper, using a circular wheel adorned with petal-like extensions, each petal holding a raised letter or symbol. When a key was pressed, The wheel would spin gently to position the correct pedal before striking the paper with a delicate tap. The daisy wheel's design was a slow, mechanical dance of precise movements, offering improved clarity and cleaner, more uniform letters compared to earlier systems. Its simplicity and ease of maintenance appealed to many users, who appreciated the tactile reassurance of the wheel's soft rotations and gentle strikes. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, daisy wheel printers also lent themselves well to the nascent world of early computer printing, bridging typewriting traditions and digital advancements with a quiet grace. Let us float gently onward to a tension that slowly crept into the world of typing. The year 1980 marked a subtle but significant tension between typists and the emerging presence of computers, as digital input devices began to reshape the landscape of written communication. Typists, skilled in the tactile rhythms of keys and levers, found themselves facing machines that promised faster, more versatile text entry, but without the comforting clicks and clacks of traditional typewriters. This transition sparked quiet debates about the value of manual skill versus the efficiency of digital technology, as the human hand negotiated its place beside the advancing electronic age. The tension was not loud or aggressive but rather a gentle undercurrent, much like the slow shifting of seasons beneath a calm sky. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, many typists adapted their skills to the new keyboards, finding ways to merge their expertise with the fresh demands of computer terminals. Let us drift gently onward to the arrival of a new Selectric model. In 1981, IBM introduced the Selectric 3, a refined electric typewriter that built upon its predecessors with enhanced design and control features. This model offered smoother key action, improved reliability, and greater precision in character selection, deepening the connection between typist and machine. The Selectric 3 continued to use the iconic typeball mechanism but incorporated subtle engineering advancements that reduced noise and increased typing speed without disturbing the quiet office atmosphere. Its operation was a slow, harmonious blend of electrical finesse and mechanical grace, providing a steady, reassuring partner for daily work. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, the Selectric 3 was designed to accommodate a wider variety of fonts and characters, gently expanding the typist's expressive possibilities. Let us float gently onward toward a profound shift in the world of text entry. By 1982, word processors began to dominate, ushering in a new era where digital typing systems started to replace traditional typewriters in many offices and homes. These machines combined the tactile keyboard with electronic memory and screen displays, allowing users to compose, edit, and format text with a flexibility previously unimaginable. The transition was slow and layered, as the comforting solidity of the typewriter gave way to the flickering glow of cathode ray tubes and liquid crystal displays. Users learned new rhythms, trading the mechanical clatter for the soft hum of processors and the gentle clicks of keys interfacing with software. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, early word processors often had limited memory and simple interfaces, requiring patience and careful management of text before the advent of more advanced computing. Let us drift gently onward to the growing practice of typewriter refurbishment. In 1983, the reuse and refurbishment markets for typewriters blossomed quietly, as machines that might have been discarded found new life through careful cleaning, repair, and restoration. Hobbyists and professionals alike tended to these aging companions, replacing worn parts and polishing keys until the machines hummed softly once again. This practice was a gentle act of preservation, honoring the slow mechanical poetry of typewriters and their steady role in human communication. Refurbishing typewriters offered a sustainable path forward, allowing machines to continue their quiet work in homes, schools, and offices rather than succumbing to obsolescence. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, some refurbished typewriters were customized or modified during restoration, blending old craftsmanship with new touches in a slow celebration of continuity. Let us float gently onward to a subtle decline in shared typing spaces. The year 1984 saw the fading of typing pools, those shared rooms where rows of typists worked in close proximity, transforming typed communication into a communal, rhythmic chorus. As technology advanced and personal word processors and computers became more common, the need for large groups of typists diminished. Typing pools slowly dissolved into memory, their gentle clatter replaced by the quieter tapping of individual keyboards scattered across offices and homes. This decline marked a soft transition from collective labor to more solitary work, altering office dynamics with the slow passage of time. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, typing pools were often social spaces, where typists exchanged whispered stories and advice between their rhythmic strokes. Let us drift gently onward to the gentle emergence of typing tutor software. By 1985, typing tutor software emerged, simulating the familiar experience of typewriters through computer programs designed to teach efficient keyboarding skills. These programs offered slow-paced lessons, encouraging accuracy and rhythm with gentle prompts and exercises. The software mimicked the steady cadence of mechanical typing, providing visual and auditory feedback that helped learners develop confidence without haste or pressure. This quiet intersection of technology and education reflected a gradual evolution in how typing skills were passed down, blending the tactile traditions of old with the digital opportunities of the new. Let us float gently onward. As the story of typewriting flows softly onward, one keystroke at a time. In the gentle turning of 1986, a quiet movement began within museums and archives, devoted to the preservation of historic typewriters. These machines, once the steady companions of countless writers and office workers, were carefully gathered and displayed as artifacts of a bygone era. With tender attention, curators cleaned and restored these devices, placing them behind glass cases or on softly lit shelves, inviting visitors to gaze upon their intricate mechanisms and worn keys. The preservation efforts transformed typewriters from everyday tools into delicate relics, slow whispers of human creativity and communication. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, some museums even organize demonstrations, allowing visitors to see the gentle motion of type bars and type balls as they tapped rhythmically onto paper, evoking a sense of history in motion. Let us float gently onward to the growing passion of collectors. By 1987, an increasing number of collectors sought rare and vintage typewriters, sparking a quiet rise in auctions dedicated to these mechanical treasures. Enthusiasts hunted for models with unique designs, limited editions, or historical significance, often bidding with gentle determination reminiscent of softly falling autumn leaves. The hunt for rarities was more than acquisition, it was a tender act of preservation and appreciation for machines that told stories through their weathered surfaces and distinctive sounds. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Some collectors specialized in restoring machines to perfect working order, while others preferred to keep their typewriters as silent, beautiful objects of nostalgia. Let us drift gently onward to the enduring presence of typewriters in education. Even as digital keyboards gained ground, 1988 saw typewriters quietly maintaining a place in educational settings, particularly for typing drills and foundational lessons. Schools, especially in regions slower to adopt new technologies, continued to use typewriters to teach students the disciplined rhythms of touch typing. The tactile feedback of keys under fingertips and the visible imprint of letters on paper provided a sensory experience that early digital devices could not replicate. Typing on these machines was a slow, meditative practice, encouraging focus and patience. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Some educators believed that typewriting lessons helped develop fine motor skills and hand-eye coordination in ways that keyboarding alone could not. Let us float gently onward to the quiet end of an era in IBM's legacy. In 1989, IBM produced the last of its Selectric electric typewriters, closing a significant chapter in the story of typing technology. The Selectric, once revolutionary with its tightball and smooth operation, had become a venerable friend to many offices and homes. Its final production symbolized the shifting tides toward fully digital word processing and computer-based text entry. Though the model ceased production, the legacy of the Selectric lingered like a softly remembered melody, echoing in the memories of typists who had depended on its steady companionship. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Even after production ended, many Selectrics remained in use for years, their sturdy mechanisms enduring with gentle reliability. Let us drift gently onward to the emergence of retro-style machines. Around 1990, a subtle trend emerged in the creation of modern typewriters designed to resemble classic machines, blending nostalgic aesthetics with contemporary technology. These retro-style typewriters, often electric or electronic in function, offered the warm, familiar look of vintage models while incorporating updated features for convenience and durability. This revival was a quiet nod to the enduring charm of typewriters, inviting users to experience the soft elegance of a bygone era alongside the benefits of modern engineering. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Some manufacturers included pastel colors and stylized fonts, enhancing the whimsical appeal of these nostalgic creations. Let us float gently onward to the waning days of typewriter innovation. By 1991, the filing of new typewriter patents had sharply declined as computers firmly established their dominance in text input technology. Innovations in the typewriter world slowed to a gentle pause, with few new models or mechanical advancements emerging. The focus of invention shifted toward digital devices, leaving the typewriter to rest in quiet dignity. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Patent offices still occasionally received filings related to niche typewriting improvements, reflecting the lingering affection for these machines. Let us drift gently onward, as the story of typewriters settles softly into the pages of history. In the quietly shifting year of 1992, the gentle hum of change swept through office supply stores as major retailers like Office Depot began to phase out typewriters from their shelves. This subtle withdrawal marked a soft farewell to the once ubiquitous machines, whose presence had filled countless desks with rhythmic clatter and steady productivity. The gradual disappearance of typewriters from retail spaces reflected broader shifts toward computers and digital word processors, technologies that promised greater speed and convenience. Yet, in this quiet retreat, the typewriter left behind a warm aura, a memory of slower, more deliberate work. But first, a slow little detour for this extra interesting fact. Some smaller, specialized stores continued to offer typewriters and supplies, catering to dedicated users who cherished a tactile, mechanical connection to writing. Let us float gently onward to the subtle shortage of ink ribbons. By 1993, the production of ink ribbons, the soft, ink-soaked lifeblood of typewriters, began to dwindle, marking the start of a decline in accessories essential to typewriter operation. These ribbons, once plentiful and easy to replace, became scarce as manufacturers shifted focus toward cartridges for printers and other digital peripherals. The ribbons themselves were delicate strips of fabric, saturated with dye that transferred characters onto paper with each gentle key strike. Their dwindling availability added a quiet urgency to the maintenance of existing machines, encouraging owners to preserve and reuse their ribbons with care. But first, a slow little detour for this extra interesting fact. Some enthusiasts resorted to improvising homemade ribbons or seeking out niche suppliers who kept the fading craft alive. Let us drift gently onward to a blossoming of nostalgic affection. In 1994, a tender wave of writer nostalgia grew as authors and creatives sought out typewriters as tools to inspire their craft. This renewed interest was less about efficiency and more about the intimate ritual of typing on machines that demanded slow, thoughtful keystrokes and rewarded effort with tactile feedback. The clacking of keys became a soothing soundtrack to creative processes, a steady rhythm that encouraged reflection and focus. Writers found that the deliberate nature of typewriting invited a gentler, more mindful flow of ideas, far removed from the distractions of modern digital screens. But first, a slow little detour for this extra interesting fact. Some writers preferred the unpredictability of mechanical errors and ink smudges, viewing them as charming imperfections that added character to their work. Let us float gently onward to the wistful debates between writing instruments. Around 1995, a soft debate unfolded between devotees of fountain pens and typewriter enthusiasts, both camps quietly championing their favored instruments as vessels of expression. Fountain pens, with their flowing ink and elegant nibs, offered a personal touch and artistic flourish, while typewriters provided mechanical consistency and a tactile connection to each letter pressed. This retro dialogue was less about contention and more a gentle exploration of tradition, craftsmanship, and the sensory experience of writing. Each tool invited a different pace and mood, both valued for their capacity to transform thought into physical form. But first, A slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. The debate inspired a resurgence of interest in artisanal stationery and bespoke writing accessories, celebrating the slow art of penmanship and typing alike. Let us drift gently onward to the cinematic return of typewriters. In 1996, typewriters found a new life as beloved props in films and television productions set in past eras. These machines, with their intricate designs and unmistakable presence, helped evoke the atmosphere of offices, writers' dens, and newsrooms long gone. Directors and set designers carefully selected typewriters to complement period details, knowing that their soft mechanical clatter and vintage aesthetic added authenticity to scenes. The machines quietly lent their nostalgic charm to storytelling, bridging time and technology with a subtle grace. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Some productions even employed functioning typewriters, capturing the gentle rhythm of typing live on set to enhance realism. Let us float gently onward as the story of typewriters continues to unfold in whispered echoes. In the gentle unfolding of 1997, a quietly charming phenomenon emerged in the form of typewriter-themed cafes, spaces where vintage machines and nostalgic decor mingled softly to create an ambience both cozy and contemplative. These cafes offered visitors not only the chance to sip warm beverages but also the opportunity to engage with authentic typewriters, sometimes encouraging patrons to tap out their thoughts on aged keys. The air within these rooms was filled with the soft clatter of typebar striking paper, a soothing soundtrack that invited slow reflection and gentle creativity. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Some cafes hosted writing events and workshops, where both beginners and seasoned typists could practice the art of typewriting, surrounded by the hushed murmur of quiet conversation and the faint aroma of coffee and ink. Let us float gently onward to the digital echo of typewriter aesthetics. By 1998, the distinctive look of typewriter fonts began to find a new life within the digital realm, as word processors incorporated typewriter-inspired typefaces that mimicked the mechanical styles of classic machines. These fonts captured the irregularities and slight imperfections characteristic of inked letters struck by moving typebars, offering a nostalgic visual texture on bright, modern screens. The digital emulation provided users with a subtle reminder of the tactile past while embracing the conveniences of electronic composition. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Some designers painstakingly crafted these fonts by studying scans of old typed pages, ensuring that every curve and speckle echoed the imperfect beauty of mechanical typing. Let us drift gently onward to a growing community of restorers. The year 1999 witnessed a rise in mechanical restoration hobbyists, individuals who devoted patient hours to repairing and refurbishing vintage typewriters with loving care. Online guides and forums began to flourish, gently instructing newcomers in the delicate arts of cleaning keys, adjusting typebars, and replacing ribbons. These hobbyists embraced the slow rhythms of mechanical maintenance, finding satisfaction in the quiet challenge of bringing silent machines back to life. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Many restorers treasured the process as a form of mindful meditation, appreciating the intricacy of gears and levers moving in perfect harmony. Let us float gently onward to a new kind of marketplace. In 2000, the emergence of online typewriter stores quietly transformed the way enthusiasts and collectors sourced machines and parts. Digital storefronts offered gently curated selections of vintage typewriters, accessories, and repair supplies, connecting buyers and sellers across great distances with a softness that contrasted the machine's metallic edges. These virtual shops provided a slow and steady supply line for those seeking to maintain or begin their own typewriting journeys. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, some online retailers specialized in rare models or bespoke restorations, nurturing a community bound by shared appreciation and quiet devotion. Let us drift gently onward to the gentle art of typewriter poetry. By 2001, typewriter poetry events blossomed as a tender blending of spoken word and mechanical rhythm, where writers tapped out verses on vintage machines while audiences listened to the syncopated clatter mingling with soft voices. These gatherings celebrated the tactile and auditory pleasures of typewriting, embracing the steady heartbeat of keys striking paper as an accompaniment to lyrical expression. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, some poets found that the deliberate pace of typing shaped their creative flow, encouraging pauses and breaths that enriched their performances. Let us float gently onward as the story of typewriters continues to weave through time with whispered grace. In the early stillness of 2002, a gentle wave of public gatherings known as type-in events began to take shape, inviting aficionados of these mechanical companions to come together in shared spaces. These gatherings were quiet celebrations of the tactile and nostalgic, where participants brought their beloved typewriters, each with its own softly worn keys and unique sounds, to tap out letters, stories, or simply to listen to the comforting rhythm of typing. The ambience was filled with the faint scent of ink ribbons and the occasional creak of moving parts, as strangers became companions bound by a common appreciation for these relics of written communication. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, some type-in events included gentle workshops teaching newcomers the art of typewriter maintenance, ensuring that these delicate machines might continue their whispering dance for years to come. Let us float gently onward to the quietly emerging art of typewriter photography. By 2003, typewriters found a new stage in the digital world through a growing trend of aesthetic photography shared across the early internet. Photographers captured these machines in soft-focus portraits, highlighting the subtle textures of worn metal, the delicate curvature of keys, and the faint imprint of faded letters on yellowed paper. These images often featured natural light filtering through dusty windows or rested upon backgrounds of mossy stone and weathered wood, evoking a dreamlike atmosphere of quiet reflection. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, some photographers experimented with macro shots that revealed the intricate mechanics beneath the surface, inviting viewers to appreciate the elegant complexity hidden inside each machine. Let us drift gently onward to typewriter-inspired fashion. The year 2004 saw the gentle seepage of typewriter motifs into the world of fashion, where prints and patterns drew inspiration from the familiar shapes of keys, ribbons, and paper. Designers embraced the nostalgic charm of these vintage elements, translating the visual language of typewriters into clothing that carried a soft, whimsical reverence for the past. Fabrics adorned with repeating typewriter keys or delicate line drawings of machines brought a subtle texture and story to everyday wear. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Some fashion lines incorporated actual typewritten letters into their designs, creating one-of-a-kind garments that whispered tales of creativity and communication. Let us float gently onward to the blossoming global community. In 2005, collector forums blossomed across the internet, knitting together a global network of typewriter enthusiasts who shared stories, advice, and resources with gentle camaraderie. These virtual communities offered spaces where beginners and seasoned restorers alike could exchange tips on cleaning mechanisms, sourcing rare parts, or simply marvel at images of beautifully preserved machines. The forums became soft havens where the mechanical past was lovingly discussed and preserved, a slow and steady pulse of shared passion. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Some forums organized group purchases and swaps, fostering friendships across continents that transcended language and culture, united by the quiet love of typewriters. Let us drift gently onward to the rise of video guides. The quiet dawn of 2006 introduced YouTube channels dedicated to the careful art of typewriter repair, where DIY enthusiasts shared slow, methodical tutorials on restoring these machines to working order. These videos, often softly narrated or accompanied by gentle background sounds, demonstrated how to clean type bars, replace ribbons, and adjust delicate levers. The process unfolded at a calm pace, inviting viewers to absorb each step with relaxed attention and a sense of mindful care. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Some creators included tips on sourcing vintage parts or improvising repairs, encouraging a gentle spirit of resourcefulness among watchers. Let us float gently onward as these quiet stories continue to weave the soft legacy of typewriters into the present day. In the gentle unfolding of 2007, the quiet charm of typewriters found its way into the hands of public figures and celebrities who embraced these vintage machines as symbols of creativity and timelessness. The soft clack of typewriter keys echoed not only in private studies but also in the spotlight, as authors, musicians, and artists revealed their fondness for the tactile and deliberate process of typing on mechanical devices. This embrace by notable personalities gently rekindled broader interest, reminding many of a slower, more thoughtful mode of creation. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Some celebrities favored specific models, often vintage Remingtons or Underwoods, appreciating the unique sound each key produced, as if the machine itself whispered inspiration. Let us float gently onward to the world of color and customization. By 2008, a vibrant new trend blossomed among typewriter enthusiasts, custom paint jobs that transformed well-worn machines into bold, colorful statements. Artists and hobbyists lovingly stripped and repainted typewriters in hues ranging from pastel blues to deep crimsons, blending nostalgia with fresh creativity. These personalized machines became living artworks, marrying mechanical heritage with individual expression. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Some restorers used vintage paint formulas or hand-brushed delicate designs, making each machine a unique jewel reflecting both past and present. Let us drift gently onward. To the delicate marriage of old and new. In 2009, inspired by the classic aesthetic and satisfying tactile feedback of typewriters, designers began crafting modern computer keyboards with retro styling. These typewriter-inspired keyboards offered users the comforting click-clack of mechanical keys, arranged in familiar layouts yet infused with contemporary functionality. The revival merged nostalgia with technology, inviting typists to experience the quiet joy of mechanical input even in a digital age. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Some keyboards featured rounded keycaps and raised profiles, carefully mimicking the look and feel of vintage machines, while others incorporated backlighting and ergonomic improvements. Let us float gently onward to the galleries of typewriter art. By 2010, museums and galleries began to showcase typewriter art exhibits, presenting visual works created entirely or partly with the tools of typewriters. Artists used the machines not just for text but as instruments to compose intricate portraits, landscapes, and abstract patterns, tapping keys in deliberate sequences to build images from letters and symbols. This slow, methodical process transformed the typewriter from a writing device into a creative brush, inviting viewers to appreciate both the mechanical rhythm and artistic vision. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Some exhibits included interactive installations where visitors could contribute by typing a line or a shape, weaving collective art from individual keystrokes. Let us drift gently onward to a curious fusion of old and new technology. The year 2011 introduced USB typewriter kits, hybrid devices that married the mechanical charm of vintage typewriters with modern computer connectivity. These kits allowed typists to enjoy the tactile feedback of keys striking paper while simultaneously transmitting digital text to a computer via USB. The soft mechanical dance continued alongside the quiet glow of screens, bridging eras with gentle harmony. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Assembling these kits often involved intricate rewiring and adaptation, rewarding patient tinkerers with machines that felt alive in two worlds at once. Let us float gently onward to the written celebration of typewriters. In 2012, a popular book titled Typewriter Revolution quietly captured the spirit of this mechanical resurgence, celebrating typewriters as symbols of individuality and creative resistance to the rapid pace of digital life. The pages wove stories of personal connections to typewriters, their role in artistic expression, and their enduring appeal in a world increasingly dominated by screens and keyboards. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. The book featured interviews with collectors, writers, and artists who described the calming ritual of typing as a form of meditation and self-care. Let us drift gently onward to the subtle imprint on modern technology. By 2013, the unmistakable feel of typewriter keys began to influence the design of mechanical keyboards, inspiring models that sought to replicate the satisfying tactile feedback and audible clicks cherished by typists. This influence quietly permeated the computer accessory market, offering users a bridge between the nostalgic past and the sleek digital present. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Some designers studied vintage key mechanisms to recreate authentic resistance and travel distance, honoring the slow poetry of mechanical typing. Let us float gently onward. As the soft legacy of typewriters continues to whisper through time. In the soft glow of 2014, typewriters made an unexpected, tender entrance into the world of pop music videos, where artists and directors wove these mechanical companions into their visual storytelling. Against backdrops that shimmered like slowly turning gears or drifting feathers, musicians gently tapped on vintage machines, their rhythmic clatter harmonizing with melodies, creating a quiet interplay between sound and image. The typewriter, with its aged keys and nostalgic presence, lent a wistful texture to the visual aesthetic, evoking a sense of timelessness and delicate craftsmanship. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Some videos featured close-ups of fingers moving deliberately over keys, capturing the almost hypnotic dance of type bars striking ribbons, inviting viewers into a world where music and machinery quietly coexisted. Let us float gently onward to the world of steampunk enchantment. By 2015, a whimsical wave of steampunk creativity enveloped typewriters, as artisans and enthusiasts adorned these machines with gleaming brass plates, delicate gears, and ornamental flourishes that whispered of alternate histories and mechanical fantasies. Each machine was lovingly transformed into a small, intricate sculpture, where the tactile essence of typing met the imaginative spirit of Victorian-era invention. The coppery shine of metal parts caught soft light as keys clacked beneath the gentle press of fingers, inviting slow contemplation. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Many steampunk typewriters incorporated working clockwork components purely for visual charm, their slow-turning cogs a silent ode to the poetry of movement and time. Let us drift gently onward to literary homage. In 2016, a special homage was paid to the literary great Ernest Hemingway, as typewriter manufacturers and collectors honored his legacy with Hemingway edition machines, modeled after the very devices he used to weave his sparse, evocative prose. These machines carried the aura of quiet creativity, their keys imbued with the echoes of countless words slowly born in sunlit studies and shadowed rooms. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Some editions replicated not only the exterior appearance but also the tactile feel and mechanical resistance Hemingway would have known, inviting modern typists to connect with the writer's slow, deliberate process. Let us float gently onward to the patient art of restoration. By 2017, a gentle revival was underway in the form of DIY typewriter restoration courses, where small groups gathered to learn the tender art of breathing life back into old machines. These hands-on classes moved at a calm, measured pace, teaching careful cleaning of type bars, alignment of keys, and replacement of ribbons with the kind of patient focus that invites mindfulness. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Many participants found solace in the tactile engagement, appreciating the quiet transformation of a neglected machine into a clacking companion once more. Let us drift gently onward to the mindful embrace of minimalism. The year 2018 saw a soft resurgence in minimalist writing practices, with typewriters praised for their distraction-free focus and tactile engagement. Writers and thinkers alike returned to these mechanical devices to escape the siren calls of notifications and endless digital windows. The deliberate act of typing on paper, with its measured sounds and physical presence, invited a slower rhythm of thought and creation. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, some enthusiasts reported that the physicality of typewriters helped them slow down their thinking, nurturing deeper reflection and less hurried prose. Let us float gently onward to the melding of old and new. In 2019, digital typewriter hybrids emerged, combining modern technology with vintage styling to create gadgets that looked like classic machines but interfaced with computers and tablets. These hybrids offered the comforting clatter and feel of mechanical keys while transmitting text digitally, bridging centuries of typing tradition in a single soft click. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, engineers carefully designed these devices to replicate the key travel and sound profiles of vintage models, preserving the sensory pleasure of typing even in a connected world. Let us drift gently onward as the typewriter's whispered legacy continues its slow, soothing journey through time. In the quiet unfolding of 2020, the cozy corners of the internet became home to an ever-growing number of typewriter subreddits, gentle spaces where aficionados and curious newcomers alike gathered to share tips, photographs, and the subtle art of typewriter maintenance. These online communities offered soft whispers of encouragement and detailed discussions on everything from choosing the perfect model to sourcing rare ribbons. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, some members exchanged painstakingly restored typewriter art, created from the careful tapping of keys onto paper, transforming ordinary words into delicate visual patterns. Let us float gently onward as these digital lounges blossomed into havens of slow appreciation, where every mechanical click and carefully inked letter became a shared meditation on the enduring charm of these machines. By 2021, the global shift toward remote work invited a new kind of decorative use for typewriters, as people adopted typewriter-themed Zoom backgrounds to bring a touch of vintage calm to their virtual meetings. Against softly blurred images of worn keys and gently patinated metal, these backgrounds evoked a sense of tactile presence amidst the ephemeral digital haze. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, some remote workers reported feeling more grounded and focused when surrounded visually by the nostalgic imagery of typewriters, their slow rhythm somehow calming the rush of virtual life. Let us drift gently onward to the hopeful return of physical gatherings. In 2022, after the long quiet of the pandemic, retro type-in events cautiously rebooted, inviting typewriter lovers to gather once more in softly lit rooms filled with the gentle clatter of keys and the scent of aged paper. These gatherings, often held in cozy libraries or vintage cafes, rekindled the joy of communal typing, where strangers shared stories through mechanical letters and the timeless hum of friendship. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, some type-in events included workshops on ribbon replacement and carriage repair, weaving practical learning into the soft tapestry of shared experience. Let us float gently onward to the delicate art of ribbon making. The year 2023 brought attention to handcrafted ribbon makers, small businesses dedicated to producing quality ink ribbons that preserve the authentic feel and appearance of typewritten text. These artisans carefully balanced pigment and fabric to offer ribbons that not only produced clear impressions but also resisted drying and smudging, honoring the tactile heritage of typewriting. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, some ribbon makers incorporated natural dyes and traditional manufacturing techniques, weaving slow craftsmanship into every spool. Let us drift gently onward to the subtle digital curiosities of modern collecting. In 2024, the quiet world of typewriters found a new expression in digital collectibles known as typewriter-themed NFTs, where vintage machines were reimagined as unique tokens on blockchain platforms. These virtual artifacts invited collectors to own a piece of typewriter nostalgia in an intangible, ethereal form, bridging the tactile past with the digital future. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, some NFT artists created animated sequences that captured the hypnotic movement of keys striking paper and ribbons flowing, adding a meditative dimension to these digital treasures. Let us float gently onward to the subtle sounds of simulated typing. In 2025, apps designed to mimic the sound of typewriter keys gently clicking and the soft carriage returns began to offer users an ambient soundtrack for focus and relaxation. These AI-simulated noises reproduced the irregular yet comforting rhythms of manual typing, creating a soothing auditory environment that invited slow, mindful concentration. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, some applications allowed users to customize the key sounds, selecting from models like the classic Underwood or the clattery Remington, letting each listener tailor their own mechanical symphony. Let us drift gently onward as the whispered legacy of typewriters continues to echo softly through the passage of time. As we drift softly now toward the close of this gentle narrative, remember, dear listener, that none of this information needs to be remembered or grasped tightly. Let your mind wander like a feather on a lazy breeze, resting on the soft facts of these early typing machines. These inventions, while unremarkable in the roar of history's grand events, offer a comforting rhythm, a steady click-clack that soothes rather than excites. If your eyes are closed, if your thoughts are drifting, then my job here is done for today. Thank you for spending this unremarkable moment with me. You have listened to The Sleepy Sloth, where uninteresting things become the softest lullabies.